So, just to give you a very brief idea about Fraunhofer. Fraunhofer is a research organization in Germany for applied research. So our sister organization is, for example, Max Planck, doing basic research, and other organizations. Around 23,000 people working with Fraunhofer, around 17% women among this staff. And Fraunhofer is really an engineering society. So most of these people are working in the field of engineering or natural sciences. And we are spread over whole Germany, so that's a reason for this huge amount of institutes and groups. What does it mean when you want to do something for the customers, develop technology for customers? And this is a goal for each kind of applied research too. You want to enable both men and women to do things, to do what they cannot do at the moment, but would like to do if they knew that this is possible in the future, or was possible in the future. And this describes already several problems. It's hard to discuss and describe what you want to have when you don't have any idea that this is possible to do, or you can imagine that this is something you would like to have. So I'm quite sure that the mobiles, which are used now everywhere, is a product which is of interest for women, because the telephones which were used in the cars in former times had only a very small market, but it was an incredible increase when it was comfortable, small, and easy to use for everybody, and also the women market could be addressed. And this seems to be a problem. This is a Eurobarometer study which is done in all European countries, and they found a similar result since years. And they always find that people who are enthusiastic about technical innovations are male, are young, and are well educated. And people who are not interested, reluctant, or anti-innovation are female, are older people, and this is, I think, a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. Have in mind these mobiles on the one hand, and think about these results, but this is a result, or this is a knowledge you find in every textbook for marketing, and also in the knowledge of engineers, that you have to address with technical innovations always the young men, because they are interested in technical innovations. All the other are the followers. And this is, for me, a starting point to think about what's going on in this innovation system. Why is this textbook knowledge, this self-fulfilling prophecy, because this is the result of a textbook knowledge like this, is still true? We have quite a lot of knowledge about gendered innovations, about gender and sex analysis in research. We have not so many, but also women in higher education and R&D. And we have highly trained women in the field of knowledge production, application, communication. But then there is a kind of valley of death. We don't have the women in the decision-making positions, and we don't have, or it looks like that we don't have inclusive innovation practices, because there aren't women inside of the scientific establishment, and also outside. And again, in the market, in the society, we have the needs of men and women, and we have women involved as taxpayers, consumers, opinion makers, but somehow this don't come through. And what we started at Fraunhofer in my institute is to think about a new kind of process to involve laypersons into a process to think about possibilities for the future. Laypersons, because in these groups, you can involve also each amount of women, each amount of older people, elderly, as you like, and you aren't dependent from the small amount of women among the engineers or people who think about future. So what we are doing is we are starting with some market ideas. And then we start with workshops with laypersons. Take the results from these workshops and bring these results to specialists, to engineers from different disciplines, from natural sciences. And I would like to show you, we call this process Discover Markets, and I've shown yesterday this process. It's really, the first idea is to think about markets, because I'm absolutely sure that it's possible to find also new markets, market niches between branches when you use such concepts. And then we go through such procedures. And I would like to describe you one of these procedures in a small description, in a case description. This was thought for elderly people. Women become older, and this is a reason normally in Germany. We have the problem that especially the women above 65 have this strong idea that they aren't involved in technical developments and they don't know anything about. And when you have them together in a group with men, they would always explain, this is something the men should answer. I don't know anything about robots or technical things like this. So our task was to think about a group of people who would like to think about their needs. And we found them, and I want to describe here our concept of workshops, which is our main task in this whole process. It's the need for the elderly people. And we have, in that case, a defined technology because we want to do something in IT. And we aren't specified already in the field of application, but we are very clear in our user group we want to address. And the group we found was a group of people who were affected by a pharmaceutical, by a sleeping pill. This group of people is around 50 years old. This pharmaceutical was called Contergan in Germany. I'm not sure about the selling name in the Asian region, but the people were strongly affected. They have very short arms. And because of these different living conditions, they have a physical age of around 80-year-old people. So they behave like 80-year-old people, but they are in the age of 50 and have a technical understanding of 50-year-old people. This was our idea for that group. And you see some pictures here. We really worked very close with them, wanted to understand what they need, what they are doing, what they are able to do. These are very specific things. So this part, he's using his feet. And we brought these results, and I think this is really important, to the group of engineers. I think without a moderation, this kind of processes is impossible to run, because the engineers want to explain what is possible, what is not possible, and they want to go on with their technology. And I can understand this quite well. On the other hand, you have that kind of people who really need something, want something, and describe what their problems are, that these problems can be solved. And so you really have to find a good way to moderate such processes. And this we do in several workshops. And finally, we found a concept for moving the body, to keep the body flexible, with a specific game. And we have some sensors around the neck and a kind of pillow where you can sit on. This was the result. And what we are doing, and this is a strong process all the time, we try to keep the engineers on track. We try to keep the users involved, not only when the product is finished, but also during the research project. And so we have this women always be involved in that process, and they really like that game, and they really are using this at the moment, and we are speaking quite a lot with insurances who are interested to bring this to the market to keep people really a little bit more in mobility. And because we had this Contagan-affected people in the starting process, and we also wanted to give something back to them, we thought quite a lot about how things like this manchette and this game should be packed, that these people, these affected people, are also able to open such a container, such a package. And this was an interesting work done by designers in my group to find a way to solve all that problems when people are so affected and so small in their abilities to move and to handle things. You see here the little ring to open something, to bring something out of the box. And I think I don't give you the second part. This is care check, just a very short thing. This is not the care robot, but it's a kind of exoskeleton which can be also used in the surrounding where other people live, which is very, very crowded. So you don't have this wonderful situation where you have the person and a lot of space around. Normally the rooms are looking like that, and then you need something completely different. And this was also a project we worked on, and this product I hope will come quite soon. I don't want to say a year. I don't want to say a year. There we had a very specific kind of prototyping because the caregivers, mainly women, had to be involved here also. And they had also very specific things they wanted to bring in. They want to come into direct contact with the people, with the elder people. So this is perhaps also cultural different, or depending from the culture, a little bit different, but in the Western Europe context, for sure, you have this idea that you should have the hand on the people, the warm hand to come into contact with people. So, I also want to give you a feedback from a workshop, and this was a woman in one of our workshops who was not coming from the field of engineering. And I think this is really important because she said, the morning after the workshop, ideas and visions kept going through my mind. It is important to be able to envision future challenges as manageable and to shape them into desirable outcomes. It is this approach, I believe, that makes your project so appealing. So I want to show with this quote that people had been really interested and are really interested to work about or work with us in the workshops and think about their future. Up to now, most of them didn't ever do something like this. And this, I think, is something, this shouldn't happen, and I'm absolutely sure that when we do much more of that things, this idea about innovation and innovative products may change also among the women. And perhaps this is also a good way to increase the amount of women engineers among the students and among researchers. So I want to thank you.